going on, guys? Well, as you can see, I have my War Bonnet Blackbird set up here in the basement, and I have my hammock gear underquilt attached underneath. Now my hammock, I've had it for about a year and a half, and I absolutely love it. It's worked out great. The hammock gear underquilt I've had for about 6 months, and I've only had basically one minor issue with it, and that is it keeps slipping off my feet at nighttime. My last backpacking trip, I really noticed it because it was probably about 37 degrees at night, and I noticed my feet were getting cold. Now normally to correct this, what you do down on this end is you actually loosen this end and then you tighten this end so you canter the underquilt underneath you, and you do the same at the head end. You would tighten this end and loosen this end. I've gone and done that, but it's still been a little trouble, keeping it actually in place. Now when I first get in the hammock, I normally pull this end up around my shoulder. And as you can see, it's off my feet. Alright. Now when I pull it back around onto my feet, and then I pull it up onto my shoulder here, it slides right off my feet. Now if you guys have watched any of my previous videos, you probably understand that I like things pretty simple and straightforward. I don't like messing around with a lot of knots where I don't have to, and I don't like these elaborate setups. And my theory and reasoning behind that is when I'm backpacking, I'm hiking all day, and usually I can get pretty exhausted and tired. So when I get to camp and I go to do a setup, whether it be a tent or a hammock, I want things pretty straightforward. I don't want to mess around with a lot of stuff. And this is one example where it's been getting kind of frustrating when I go to set up my hammock where I'm tightening, loosening, and just fiddling with it. And I don't want to do that. I want to actually eliminate that, where when I get to camp, I set up the hammock, just put on the underquilt, and I'm ready to go. And I think I have a solution. I was getting some Dutchware for my new tarp, and I came across these little goodies here. Got a whole bag of them. This is a quilt hook. Now what you do with these is you actually sew this to the hammock, and then you attach this little part here to the underquilt. So I bought some thread and some needles. Now what's really nice is on the hammock gear underquilt, they already have these little sewn in tabs, and that little quilt hook will actually clip right onto there. So what I'll do is I'll sew one of those quilt hooks right to the hammock. What I want to make sure is that the underquilt extends just a little bit past the corner of the footbox. So before I remove the bug net, I'm just going to mark the center, just so I have a visual reference. Looks like right there. Alright, I went ahead and removed the bug net, and I got the center of the footbox marked right here. What I think I'm actually going to do is go halfway between the end of the underquilt and this first tab, and make that kind of like the center line. And I also want to note that I tend to move around a lot in my sleep, so that's probably why the underquilt comes off my feet a lot. If the underquilt's properly fitted, it shouldn't move around too much. Alrighty, I just finished sewing the first one on. Honestly, I was a little nervous kind of sewing this into my hammock, but looks like it came out alright. But what I think I'm going to do is sew 2 onto the footbox and then 2 onto the shoulder side. And then I'll test out the suspension like that. Alright, got the first 2 hooks sewn on. This one's just going around the shock cord. This one's going around a little tab, and I'm going to leave the underquilt on so I can measure out where to place them onto the head end of the underquilt. Alright, this is on the head end now. I sewed 1 hook on and got the other one up here just around the suspension. So I'm going to stick with this for right now. 2 on the head end and 2 on the foot end. My system worked out well. As you see, the hook's still on, and right there, kept the underquilt in place very well, and even on the foot. So it was about 27 degrees this morning when I got up, and honestly I was a touch cold on my back, but also this here is only a 40-degree underquilt, so we were pushing the limits. I don't have any pad in between either. But I just want to do a quick recap of my trip and a little further explanation of my hammock and underquilt system. Trip was awesome. Definitely had a great time, and it was a lot of fun. Although I was slightly cold in the morning, can't complain. The system worked out as well as I had hoped and planned. Where we were actually staying, after checking the weather, it got down to about 22 degrees at night. And with this underquilt, it's only rated to 40 degrees. And one thing I forgot to mention is that when I purchased it, I had them put an extra ounce of down in it. So by their standards, it's probably rated to about 35. But for me, after testing it, I would safely say I could bring this down to 25 degrees without a problem. Any temperature below that, I'm going to have to do some other, either another underquilt or bring a sleeping pad. Now, when I purchased this underquilt, I got it at full length, and I did that for several reasons. I wanted this to be a 3-season underquilt for me. 3 seasons being spring, fall, and winter. In the summertime, I don't need an underquilt. I just get too hot, so I only bring a small piece of Reflectix, about 3/4 length, just for my back. So with that being said, I tested this out in the fall. I haven't tested it in the spring. I actually didn't go on any spring trips this year, but after testing it this winter trip, it's working out great. Now with the clip system on the hammock, I would say it worked out excellent. Didn't have one issue. I got in the hammock at nighttime. I was moving around, adjusting the sleeping bag, putting stuff on the shelf, just getting ready, to go to sleep. And I was moving around a lot. Not one failure. The underquilt stayed exactly where it should. And when I woke up in the morning, I got out of the hammock to use the bathroom. I came back and I actually checked, the foot box, to make sure that the underquilt had stayed on, and it did. I was really surprised. Now with an underquilt that's full length, like I said before, it's going to be kind of difficult to keep it, on this particular hammock over the foot box. If I had like a 3/4 length underquilt, it would probably be just fine, but I would have to bring an extra like foot pad just for my feet. So with this particular hammock, with this particular underquilt, this is what I think it really needs, and it worked out good for me. So I don't think I'm really going to change anything about the system. Like I said, it worked out well, and I think that's it. If you guys have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. Like the video if you like it, and definitely subscribe. I make hammock videos all the time. I go backpacking all the time. So if that's what you're into, go ahead and subscribe. All right, guys, catch you on the next one.